something.
for this, so I'm sure we're going to get some more. Just got another person um, to join us here in the next few minutes. So, for those that don't know me, my name is Aaron Wittenberger. I am a past president, now serving as vice president of administration and finance for the Bluegrass IIBA chapter. So we are proud to bring to you today Thea Soehren and our Lunch and Learn, where she will teach us and some enhancements to the old racing technique and the old racing matrix, how you can use it as a business analyst and put it into your work. So Thea and I have known each other and been good friends for many, many years now, I think. Um, and she's one of the, mentors out there in our global business analysis community. She is currently president of the Tampa Bay IIBA chapter, although she doesn't live in Tampa Bay anymore. She recently started this BA Force multiplier movement. It has about 27 leaders from our BA community that are just putting new content out there to engage and teach new techniques and concepts for business analysis. So she was an author of the Babak version 3. She recently wrote a book with a few other authors and that. So we'll add author to what she does. And with that, I will turn this over to Thea.
Thank you, Aaron. I am so pleased you all are here today. I'm excited about this because this isn't the RACI that we were taught. I've used this in so many different environments, and what I've found is that even in the hardest and most contentious environments or meetings, this is able to bring some clarity and accountability because we need to leave the meeting with the same ideas. We need people to understand what they committed to whenever they leave the meeting. We need them to know when they're supposed to deliver that and who will be involved and exactly what decisions were agreed to and by whom. And that's why this technique works. I'm going to show you some other information about personality types and languages of appreciation and communication theories that will help you make your meetings a little bit better. So let's start with the basics. This is our agenda. We're going to talk about the basics. We're going to talk about having bad meetings. We're going to talk about the Babak 10.39 roles and permissions matrix, and then the RACI as it was. And then I'm going to talk about the RACI that I use to bring accountability, clarity, and peace. And I know that sounds like a big promise, but I promise it works. And then we're going to actually practice. I need 5 or 6 volunteers to actually participate whenever we go through the practice. We're going to touch on other RACI versions, and then I'm going to talk about personalities and appreciations and what you need to know to be able to make your meetings more effective and improve your communication. So let's begin with the basics. The goal of communication is to convey an idea to the receiver so that you and they share the same idea. So you're the sender, they are the receiver. To get an idea to them so that you share the same idea, you've got to go through a very complex process. You have to interpret what you're going to send and encode it in your own message, in your own personality, create that message, send it to them. They go through a decoding process based upon their experience and their understanding and their interpretation. And then they encode a response and they send it back to you and you go through their response. So all of this means that you have the same idea. This does not mean that you agree, but you both understand what the sender intended. This is important in meetings, especially because you need to be sure that you're both on the same page, that you're not speaking about two totally different things. Does everyone agree with this? Does anyone have any concerns or comments? Rephrasing what they said is a really good way to be sure that you're on the same page. It's like give them something and say, can you rephrase it and so that I know that you really understand it. Okay, let's move into the RACI. Accountability, clarity, and peace. It is a tall order. And it sounds like I'm giving you a magic pill, but I'm not. I'm giving you a technique that I've used so successfully. I'm excited about it. So, do you have this at work? Let's talk about running a meeting. How many times have you had left a meeting with people feeling like, I'm not sure quite what we agreed. Did we all agree to that? What was I supposed to do? And sometimes you actually have this happen. There's some lashback of, that's not what I agreed to, or I'm not supposed to be the one to do that, or I don't know who's supposed to do that. So this is a technique that solves that problem for at a meeting level. So going back to the BABOK itself, 10.39 is the roles and permissions matrix. This is what the RACI falls under. Now, the roles and permissions matrix, when we wrote the BABOK 10 years ago, we were told we had to be prescriptive and not descriptive. And so we had to be very, very high level. The roles and permissions matrix basically has this figure in it. It is just a yes or no. Is the administrator able to create a new account? This is a yes. Sales is able to create a new account. That's a no. It's either does apply or does not apply. This doesn't help us a great deal. It leaves a lot of ambiguity. We're going to go deeper into that section into the RACI. Now, the RACI brings in the concepts of responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. You can see that this is the acronym RACI. It's important that the people that are using the RACI understand that acronym. So whenever you start the meetings, you're gonna actually explain this just to be sure you're all on the same page. You might have seen a RACI before at a project level. At a project level itself, many times the project manager is responsible for creating this, and you're going to see the project task at a high level by phase, like in the research phase, the econometric model. Uh, Here is who is going to be involved in that. You can see the financial lead is the one that's accountable. The business analyst, the product owner, and the CRM lead are going to be consulted. The design director and the design lead are going to be informed. This shows you exactly what their roles are in this, but that doesn't help you whenever you get down into the details. So what I'm talking about is really at the detail level. Going deeper into that acronym, responsible, RACI. Responsible, these are the people who will actually do the work. I don't care if it's one person doing the work or 15, these are the people who will do the work on the task. Accountable, this is the one person who will be sure the task is completed. I like to say this is the person whose neck will be choked if that task is not completed. So you can only have one person per task. Consulted before the event, this is a person who wants to have a say in some aspect of the event. It's best to note what specifically they want to be involved in so that you bring them in at the right time because the event may have multiple phases or multiple steps, so you actually note it in the RACI, and we're going to do that today. Informed after the event, this person wants to be told when some portion of the event has happened or what the results are. They may also want to receive information about the results. And you also note that in the RACI. We're going to do that as well. So this is what the RACI has looked like in the past. You have your task and you have your ways to identify RACI. Very often you just have the RACI listed in these boxes with your tasks listed. It leaves a lot of room for ambiguity. You don't know when something's supposed to be delivered. You don't know what the follow-up is. You don't have an idea of the results. I have a way to make that a lot easier. So, has anyone used a RACI? Let me have a show of hands. Have you used a RACI in the past? I see a couple of yeses, a couple of thumbs up. Very good. Okay, wonderful. You have some familiarity. What this is going to do is it's going to just give you some refinement. And I expect that after we do this workshop, you're going to be able to take this and do it yourself because I'm not asking a whole lot of changes. It's just how to use it is a little bit different. So, for the RACI matrix, there's 5 critical stages in preparing and using it. You've got your planning and agenda whenever you're actually preparing for using the RACI. You've got the meeting beginning, which is really critical because you want to be sure that everyone in the meeting understands what the RACI is and how you're going to use it because they might get lost if you don't explain it. I mean, some people have never heard these words. They say it's a RACI, but they don't know what this means. They need to understand what it means at the beginning of your meeting. And then conducting the meeting, we're going to walk through that in the actual workshop in the what we do in our exercise. And then at the end of the meeting wrap up is really critical as well, because not only do you go through and be sure that you haven't missed anything in your decisions and your tasks, you haven't missed who's going to be assigned what roles. You also go through and verbally identify, okay, Christy, you said you were going to do these things. Is this too much? Because there are people, and I'm one of them, I love to help and I'll raise my hand for everything. And so I might get overloaded. And it may be that I've taken on everything and there's people that haven't taken on anything. And it may be that I cannot actually do the things that I committed to. So at the end of the meeting, you have a graceful way of saying, that may be too much. Maybe I need to let somebody else take on these 2 tasks and give other people a chance to step up. And that makes the probability that those tasks will get completed a lot more likely. Yes, I will share this slide deck at the end. I'll share it to the Bluegrass chapter so they can share it out. And then stage 5 uh, is your send out and post. And stage 6 is follow up and updates. I just realized I have 5 critical stages, but there are actually 6. Your follow ups and updates are important to verify that everything is continued and that you have a resolution at the end. Because otherwise, you have a list of tasks and you don't know what the updates are. You don't know what the results are. So you need to go through each one of these and schedule yourself as the manager of this RACI to go through each one of these. So let's go through the first one, planning an agenda. So I'm going to give you a scenario. This is a scenario we're going to put ourselves into for this. It's a role play, and for this workshop, uh, we are all in the same company, in the same department. It's a big department. An outing has been planned for March 7th for each of us and our family members. There's 50 people total, and the list has been confirmed. We'll meet at the office and be brought back to the office at the end of the day. We will depart and return to the employee parking lot. We're going to pull out at 9 a.m. and arrive back at 5 p.m. The signed contract and destination of our event is the Cowboy Ranch. It's located 30 minutes away from the office. The Cowboy Ranch will provide the buildings, restrooms, and activities with horses and cowboys, but no food, games, or anything else. The Cowboy Ranch is a large property. It has a circle drive in the front of the main building, and there is shade in the circle drive. They are called the Dude Ranch, but their name is the Cowboy Ranch. Uh, we have an unlimited event budget allocated, so we don't have to worry about that for this exercise. And there are no holidays between now, today's date, and the date of the event. However, there is Valentine's Day. So as we're scheduling and planning, we want to be aware of what holidays there may be so we can say we can't expect people to be working on this project for those dates. So, going back to the RACI with this scenario, we want to be sure we know what the goal of the meeting is and we know what the scope of the meeting. These are things that I've added. The scope, what is in and out. So, in the scenario, here's our scenario that I just read. The goal of the meeting, we're going to be talking about the department outing. That's going to be on Friday, March 7th from 9 to 5. The scope of the meeting is going to be we're going to determine communication, transportation, games, food, and leave it open for what else. Give the people that are coming to the meeting the responsibility to help bring in anything that we may have not thought of. Out of scope, these are things that have already been determined. And you will know that in your meetings, people will go, well, what about? And it's like, nope, it's already been determined. So put it very clearly out of scope. We already know there's 50 people. We already know the list is confirmed. The destination's been identified. It's been paid for. There's a contract. The budget's been allocated. We know the date and time. We know where we're leaving from and where we're returning to. So that's all out of scope. We don't need to talk about that in this meeting, but we need to be aware of it because some of these things are going to impact the decisions that we need to make and the conversations that we're going to have. Do I have any questions so far? You're welcome to come off of mute to ask questions.
I was just going to ask, is this cowboy ranch out there in the U.S. Virgin Islands with Stephen? I'll go visit it.
Nope, here's our cowboy ranch. And for the purposes of getting the people in the meeting in the right spirit with the right information, give them some context. So I brought some pictures. And so as I create my email that I'm going to send out to the people to invite them to this meeting, I have my pictures. I also have my email. Um, it's obvious what we're doing. This is the final planning session for this. I've got the date and time, which is today. It's not quite today right now. It's a little bit earlier, but we're in it right now. And here is the information that I'm providing to them. The focus of this meeting, the scope of the meeting is to determine and assign the details for the communication, transportation, food. Out of scope, decisions already in place. Here's my out of scope. So I'm making it very clear what is in scope and what is out of scope. And then information about the ranch that they might want to know, just either for their own information or for the decisions we're going to have to make. There's about 30 horses available. Instructors are on site to teach. We've got trail rides for beginners and trail rides for challenging trail. And then we may have some other events that take place. So this is going to help them determine possibly how many games do we want to bring? If we don't necessarily need to fill up all of people's time with games or events because we have these things in place. So this is the RACI that I like to use. Again, I use this format. Goal of the meeting, what's in and out of scope, and then in yellow is what I've actually added to the RACI. Uh, you have a task column, but I also add my decisions there. If decisions are made during the meeting, they need to be documented, and having them in a separate document doesn't make any sense. They're part of this context. So go ahead and identify your decisions. For the tasks, identify the date and time it's due. Have you ever asked someone to deliver something to you? I need it by Friday at 5 o'clock, and you don't tell them how you want it, and they either drop it on your desk, they drop it in a SharePoint file, they send it to you by email. If you're not looking in the right place, if you haven't set those expectations up front, you might miss it. And so you're still waiting, and it could be there for you to be working on, but you don't have that expectation. So identify your date and time due, who it's going to be received by, and method. So here you've got when, where for both of those. Send it to this email and give them the email, and so that they know that it's going to be received by email or in a specific SharePoint drive or by Teams, however you're going to do it. And then if there are notes, if there's a next successor that needs to be identified, and then whenever a resolution is identified, you can put it here. And then, of course, you've got your people. It's important that not only do you have the people's names, but you have their titles. Because what if, say, our Dixon, our UI designer, if this was a software project, we have a UI designer that says that they will take on something, and then Dixon gets reassigned to another project, and somebody else comes in to be our UI designer. It's easier for us to say, hey, John, I understand you're the new UI designer. Dixon had taken this on previously. Can you take this on? And you can just reassign, but having the title is really important here. Do I have any questions about these? We're going to actually use them and we're going to understand them more deeply, but does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. One other note. As you create this, I encourage you to go ahead and create it in a shared location so that people can access it and make their own updates to the resolution and reference it. Having it in a SharePoint or something like that is also, hold on. It's also beneficial because you're going to be sending this out later and you need to send out a link. I'll be right back.
Okay, so
I,
while she gets a drink, um, I hope her voice recovers and is able to continue.
me too. Goodness. Being
So I'll give her
back
positive
in
thoughts. She's going to make it through this.
yeah, now I've got to blow my nose too. Okay, I think we're going to be okay. So, having it on a SharePoint or having it on some shared location is going to make it really easy to send out the link, and you're not trying to share a document with, 50 people. So, let's get on to the meeting beginning. As you present your RACI, again, it's really, really important that you identify you to your team members that you're going to be using a RACI. Well, I'm sorry, here's a question. Um, is it important to share? Let me get to that question. Is it important to share this template every time before the meeting? No, not necessarily. But at the end of the meeting, it's critical that the folks know that you're going to be sharing this information out. So have it ready. If you go ahead and have it in your SharePoint, I think it's a really important benefit for yourself. So as you open your meeting, um, introduce the RACI. And you're going to introduce these concepts and I gave this to you earlier. I'm going to send out this template, but identify responsible are the people that are going to be doing the work. Accountable is the one person on that task that's responsible for getting it done. Again, the one neck to choke. Consulted, these are the people that want input before the decision or the activity is completed. And informed, these are the people that want to get information after it. Now, you can be multiple of these things. Very often, if you are accountable, you're often also responsible. You can be consulted and informed. One of the examples we're going to run into is people that have food allergies are going to be coming to this event, right? And so let's say, I'm going to say Cliff. Cliff's wife has a food allergy, and he knows that she's coming to the event, and he doesn't want her to go into anaphylactic shock. I mean, who would? That's not a fun thing. We don't want that. So he wants to be able to say, I want to see the menu before the menu is identified. I want to be able to say, you cannot have peanuts in your menu in any form. And then after the menu is identified, I want to be informed so that I can say, are there peanuts anywhere? I want to confirm that what I had contributed earlier was listened to and that we can be all on the same page. So you can be consulted, informed, you can be accountable, responsible, you can be multiple of these things. It just identifies your role in that particular task. Also explain that as you bring in the RACI, that this document is a living document. It's going to be used to track not only the work, but create accountability. Let's do it the other way. There we go. Um, there's got to be a better way. There we go. Okay, so this is going to be sent out after the meeting so that everybody impacted, and I like to use that phrase, everyone impacted will receive this document, meaning not only the people here in this meeting, but everyone who's going to be impacted by this event is going to receive this document. What you've done there is you created instant accountability so that everyone knows what you committed to in this meeting. It makes people listen a whole lot more in the meeting. It creates a situation where if I say I'm going to do something, I know everyone knows I said I'm going to do this. And so as the business analyst or as the meeting leader, I don't have to carry a big stick. The big stick is built in by using this technique. I like to again put the goal, the scope, and the in scope and out of scope on this right up at the top so that everyone sees what it is, and I go over it at the beginning of the meeting. I also provide a calendar to show them what our target is because too many times people are going to go, wait, let's see, what day is that? This is the 5 days of each week up to our target. Here's our one potential holiday. Some people do take the Valentine's Day off. So that's a possibility. Today's date is the 6th. And so we know exactly how long is going to be between now and then. They don't have to look anywhere else. They can continue to focus on the presentation. I walked through the format of this. Here's where we're going to document our tasks and decisions. This is when we're going to put our date and time, who it's going to be received by, and what method. If there's any notes, and at the bottom, there's going to be a resolution. And then people's names will go across here. And if they have a role, a specific title for this event, I'll put it in here. Examples of titles for this particular event would be if someone is on the Health and Safety Committee. That means that anytime we're talking about tasks that we need to talk to the health and safety person, we're going to have to, it's easy to see, oh, yeah, Lori is the health and safety person. Lori, do you need to be consulted or informed on this? Do you want to participate? Because it helps us not have to keep everything in our mind, just put it up there and make it visible. Um, So we're going to talk about the event, and I need 5 volunteers. If I can get people to put in the chat your name, if you want to volunteer, this means you're going to come off of mute, and I'm going to participate, and I'm going to say, what's the next thing we need to plan for this category, and who wants to be involved, and things like that. So, Erin will volunteer. Great, Erin, thank you. Sarita?
I
Jana?
I absolutely will be happy to, but I'll leave it open to the community. I'd like to make sure we
Okay.
have seats for everybody. So
I
Sandra,
think we've got,
Karina, Sarita,
okay, I've
Bordana.
got 5. Let me make these just a tiny bit larger because they are not so easy to see. There we go. Okay, we've
Anyone
got
else?
enough people to do this well. We may have more people that need to come in. I will tell you, anybody that's participating in the meeting, and I'm just going to pretend like there's just 5 of us in this meeting, but if you have someone come into your meeting like 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in or 5 minutes before the end, put their name up here. That means that they are now responsible for participating and they have a voice in this event. So add names as they come in. So I like to use Excel because you can add as many names as you need to on this.
Hmm.
Okay, so Erin, Sarita, Bojana, Harini, and Sandra, welcome to the meeting. Today we're going to be talking about the department outing, which is going to be on March 7th. We're going to talk about communication, transportation, games, food, and anything else that we need to get the final planning done. We know what's out of scope, and I'm going to step out for a second and tell you a note. Um, Whenever you're talking about planning an event, always talk about communication first because communication not only has to start receiving information from everybody, but they're going to be the last thing that goes out. So start with communication. So I need to know now that we've talked about what is in place, what we've decided, you know where it's going to be. Oh, Aaron, not Aaron. Yes, different Aaron. Thank you. Y'all are twinsies.
Hey, you could put
Okay,
me in there and we could just be confusing as to who you're talking to, Aaron or Aaron.
I'm going to call you AW. That way we don't have that problem.
Ah,
Yeah, I know.
all the fun
See,
away.
no ambiguity. We don't do ambiguity in this room. Okay, so now that you know where we're going, you know what we know so far. There's some things we don't know, and I need your help to get those things resolved. Um, is there anybody in here who's in health and safety, who needs to be in governance, um, who needs to manage safety or security or anything like that?
Well,
Do we have any of those needs?
I would like everybody to sign a liability form. We're riding horses, there are issues, injuries, and all that good stuff. So you can place me.
Okay, I've got you health and safety.
All right. You
Safe
can
eat
also call me
live.
HR. No, you can put
Oh,
me.
yeah, well, I'll just call you HR. That
All
works.
right.
Okay. Uh, Incidentally, with our 50 people that have been verified, there are already releases signed. We've taken care of all of that, right? Okay. So, for communication being our first category, I need to know who would like to participate, not lead up or not be responsible for specific things, but participate in the communication effort. And this is going to include receiving all the information from the different groups and sending out communication to our 50 people.
I'd
I
like to
can
be
do that.
informed.
Aaron can do that.
Okay, Aaron, you're going to be involved. I'm going to put you as doing the work. Is there anybody else? Is this a one-person job, guys?
What are we talking about? Who's accountable?
I'm talking about just being involved in communication.
I will be a part of that.
Okay, I'm
I want to be
sorry, I put
informed.
that on the wrong one.
I want to be informed. I don't know that I want to be responsible.
Okay, you
I
want
think
to be informed.
with communication,
Okay,
everyone's going to be involved in some level or informed rather, but only one
everyone is
person
going to
is
be informed.
responsible.
You're right. You're right. So Aaron is going to be doing the work of communication, which is receiving the updates of transportation, the games, the food, all that stuff, and sending out the information to the 50 people. Bojana, you want to be informed. Is there a specific thing you want to be informed on, or do you just want to receive the information?
Want to make sure there's proper language used and all that good stuff if we're talking to family members and it's a large group of people. And I want to make sure that we're doing it right. So I kind of want to
Okay, it sounds like you want to be consulted because
yes,
you want to get to look
yes,
at it before it's sent
you're right.
out.
You are right.
Okay. Okay.
I
It-
I would like to be informed because I'm going to volunteer for games.
Okay.
And I need to know if there's any um, disabilities or issues that I would need to deal with when it comes to
Uh-huh.
games.
So I will give you disability information. So I think I need to be actually part of my responsibility would be individual release forms, I suppose, or provide release forms.
Okay.
That makes
Okay.
sense. Is that right?
Um, I'm going to start a different category right down here then for games, specifically for games, because we were talking communication, but we're
Went
not
off.
talking about games, right? It's okay. This is the process it has to go through. So for games, specifically about disabilities or issues, and let's see, Bojana, you have the information on that, right?
Correct.
Okay, so can I make you accountable for that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And that means, Sandra, you really want to be uh, down here in this section. You want to know what the disabilities and issues are, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I have disabilities and issues here, I'm going to replace this with just a I. You want to be informed.
Yes. You might want to also do that with the food person because they need to know about allergies.
You're right. You're right. I'll do that in just a second. But before I do
Sorry.
that, no. You never have to be sorry for that. Before I do that, I want to go up here and replace this because communication, disabilities, and games has been covered right down here. So this is no longer true. And Bojana, for communication, you still want to work proper language for the communication? Okay. Now let me go down here for food. Uh, do we need disabilities?
Allergies.
Food?
Allergies.
Just allergies. Okay. We will come back to that in just a moment. I'm going to assume that's also going to be you, Bojana, because you would have that information, and we will come back to that. So let's go back to communication. Receiving the information from everyone for all of the different topics, as well as disseminating it. We have Aaron that's going to be responsible, and Bojana who's going to consult for proper language. Is that correct? Is there anybody else who needs to be participating in this in any way other than receiving the final thing that goes out to everyone? Okay.
I'll help Aaron get
I
it out.
Would you help Aaron? Okay.
Aaron will help
So
Aaron.
So between AW and Aaron, which of you would like to be accountable to
I
head
will,
up this effort?
I will be. I'll make sure Aaron gets it out.
Oh,
That's
no,
right.
no. You have to send it out if you're accountable.
I thought responsible was the one actually doing the work.
Yeah, responsible is one Aaron.
Responsible does the work. Accountable is the one person that heads it up.
Well, the one person accountable to see that it is done.
Right.
So Aaron
So
send it out. I'll
sometimes,
make sure she did.
okay, as long as it gets sent out. So let's talk about communication. Is there anything that we need to send out before uh, the event other than the notification is going to happen? Is there any surveys that we need to send out? Do we want to ask people to bring games? I mean, that type of thing. So think about that as we walk through this because we're going to come back to communication.
Is there a website that you're supporting before you have the event that will help you with communication? You could send your
Um,
surveys through it. You could, that could be a good communication tool.
that's true. That's true. Jenny, do you want to be on the communication team?
I had to leave at one, so I was like afraid to jump in there.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. We will come back to me communication because as we go through the other things, we're going to find out other things, other topics that we need to add to communication. So,
Thea,
uh,
you
yes.
have a question in the chat. Can one
Oh,
person
I'm
have
so
multiple
sorry.
roles, like responsible and accountable?
Absolutely. Yes. The responsible and accountable. The accountable is very often doing the job too. So they're accountable and responsible. So you can be responsible and accountable, and that automatically means that you're part of the group doing the work. So you're not going to be consulted and informed, but other people that are not part of the actual work may be consulted, or they may be informed, or they may be consulted and informed.
So if you're responsible and accountable, that's raw.
Yeah, that is raw.
That's the cheerleader.
So so AW, you're raw. Okay, cool. Okay, anything else with communication we can think of?
Transportation. We need to see the providers, right? Who are the providers? We need to coordinate with them. You want to take it separate or you want to take it as a part of communication?
Okay, let's talk about
Sounds like
transportation.
transportation should be separate. It should be communicated about as well.
Okay,
I can be responsible for that.
you can be responsible for transportation. All
Yeah.
right, Sarita. And who else would like to participate in coordinating the transportation?
I'm HR, so I'm going to be in there. So you can just drop me in some form.
Okay, I'll say you're going to help do the work.
They're
Hey,
responsible.
sign me up.
So if they're responsible for transportation, does that mean they're driving?
It means they're responsible for making the arrangements.
Arranging,
Whether,
talking
I
to the
mean,
providers, right?
yeah, right. So I'm sorry, let's go back to communication one more time. We're going to have communication out to the whole group as a final, be ready for this. Do you want to have two things that you send out? One that says, here's the announcement it's going to happen, and then one, here's the last minute things you need to know? Are there going to be two
I think
separate?
so. Yeah,
Okay,
because there's going to be initial communication that probably asks for allergies and mentions like what's going to be happening, and then a final update as the details show up.
okay.
We also have to get those permissions and waivers or, liability sign-offs.
We have the permissions and waivers signed off. That's on the verified list, and we know who the allergy people are because HR already has that documented. Because Bojana is awesome. How do you say your name? I want to say it properly.
Okay. J is his Y, so Boyana, boy and Anna.
Bojana. Thank you,
Boyana.
Bojana.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're
I'll do
welcome.
better.
No, you're
Okay, so we have two different communications that are going out. the same people need to be involved in both of those things. And because you need continuity amongst your groups. And let's talk about the announcements. The final update, when do we want to send it out? We're going to be going out on the 7th. Do you want the final update the week before that, on the 28th? Does that sound right? This is up to AW and Aaron.
I think
When
that
do you
sounds
want to
right.
send this out?
Actually, the 3rd.
The
So that
3rd
way,
on that Monday?
yeah, that way it comes out the week of. And I
Okay.
had a question for details like that.
Uh-huh.
Will we capture um, things in the notes, or what gets? Need some clarification on what gets captured in the notes and next successor. Would that include next steps as well?
We're going to go through that in just a second.
Oh, cool. I'm psychic.
But I love your
And
question.
and
So,
I'm the mother of 4 kids,
yes,
and
sir.
I would like to know on the 28th what's going on so I can prep for my kids if I need to buy anything
Okay.
or just get my family ready. So moving
That's
it
good.
up to that Friday.
We can
Okay.
up it. So that's good input. So people may need additional planning time. So
Yeah.
So that's February 28th. Can we say at the beginning of the day, by
Mhm.
10 a.m.?
Yeah, that
That
works.
gives them the day to ask questions. And you're going to send it out by email. Can I say there's a distribution list?
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm gonna actually type in a distribution list. Distro at company .com. I want to be very specific here. That way people don't go, oh, I thought you were going to use the other distribution list. This way, there's no question. So this final update is going to go out on February 28th by 10 a.m. When is the first announcement going to go out? When do y'all want to send that out? We do have some
Tomorrow.
information right now. We don't have
Yeah.
all the details yet. At what point do we want to have enough details to send the announcement out?
We want to start promoting at least 4 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
People
Well,
the
that
time.
would be like tomorrow.
Okay. Aaron's quick.
That works.
Okay.
I'm fast. I can do this.
So February 7th, can we again do it by 10 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay, and to the same location.
She has all evening to work on it.
Wait.
Okay. Okay, so that means for this to go out, that means you got to coordinate with Boyana. Uh, is
Okay.
that enough time to do that?
See, yeah. I'm in the office early, so sure. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so the two of you can do that. So this is doable. We can check that off. And then we have the final update on the February 28th to give people the weekend to buy things if they need to.
Mhm.
And we are sending it to the same distribution list. Okay, I feel pretty good about communication. Is there anything that we're missing so far? We realize we can come back to it. Okay. I want to encourage y'all to use the power of the moment of silence to give people a chance. People who, especially if they're introverts, they need to think about things before they talk. Give them the chance to think. Okay. Next thing is transportation. We've got Sarita and Boyana that are going to be involved in transportation. Does anyone else want to be involved? Okay. Can we get an idea of what we think we're going to do? Are we going to do buses, vans, tell people to take their own stinking cars? I mean, how do you want to do this?
Yeah, it's a group of 50 people, so definitely bus will be the one, but people who could not travel through a bus cab facility. So these two things came up in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, let's check. Boyana, do we have anyone that cannot get on a bus if it's handicap accessible?
I believe we do. And I don't know if anybody is on here from vendor relations. Did we have the use of prior transport companies, somebody that's approved and legitimate? But yeah, we'll need a special, we will need some additional transport buses for a few folks. So we'll need,
Okay,
mhm. I think I
so
can, that's the disabilities issues. I'll provide those forms. And of course, I think we'll need a disability transport, at least one equipment.
okay, so can we look for a bus with disability equipment?
Yeah, we'll see. Is Sandra who's with vendor? If we have a vendor person? Aaron, is that you?
We don't have a vendor person yet.
Did not. What? How'd I get to be a vendor person?
I don't know. Pick it up.
I got voluntold. Crap.
Aaron, have you
Yeah.
worked with vendors for transportation in our company before?
I have not.
Okay.
So I can certainly work with it, but I probably want somebody else to consult
Okay.
with.
All right. Sandra, have you worked
Yeah,
with
wasn't
vendors?
that Sandra?
I have, yes.
Oh, good. I'm going to put you as our vendor relation.
But I'm also games.
Oh, okay. We'll take you there too. Okay, so
Vendor?
Sandra, do we have a approved vendor for transportation?
We do, but I'll have to check and make sure that they have equipment available for disabled
Okay.
people,
Can I put
individuals
you
with disabilities. Yeah,
can I put you as part of the transportation team?
yes.
Okay, very good.
I would
And
also like to not make it mandatory for everybody to write that because again, speaking for moms, I don't want to put the stuff in my car in the morning, move the stuff from my car to a bus and then take it out of the bus and then go through it to come home. So,
I agree with you. However, you might not have much stuff to take. Hopefully, we'll be able to provide people everything they need so that we're not going to make it cumbersome for you. But let's
okay,
get through the games and food part, and then you can make that decision. We can come
okay.
back and visit transportation should we need to. Transportation, I don't think is mandatory. Does anyone disagree with that? You can take your own vehicle if you want to, but we are going to provide transportation for 50 people if you want to participate in that. Does everyone agree?
I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to document that as a decision.
I'm going to ask.
Transportation.
I'm going to ask the question: does Cowboy Ranch have the space for all those vehicles?
They do. They do. They have a circle drive and then they have a small parking lot for 30 people, for 30
Okay.
cars.
All right, just checking.
So,
Okay. And we have agreement on this. And let me go through because this is a decision. Aaron, do you agree transportation is not mandatory, that not everyone has to take it?
I do agree.
Okay.
And we need to
Documenting that.
communicate about that.
Oh, good point. Sarita, do you agree transportation is not mandatory?
Yeah, but we need the sign up at least from the people who wanted to take the transportation before we talk to, before we make the final arrangements. That people who
Okay,
want the transportation, we should know.
that's a good point. We'll make that note in just a second. Boyana, do you agree with this?
yeah.
Okay. Harini, do you agree with this?
She said yes in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Sandra, do you agree with this?
Yes.
And AW, do you agree with this? You are on mute, sir. Okay, we do not have an agreement from Aaron, and I'm not going to document that we do. So transportation, using arranged transportation is not mandatory. So we have, this is a decision. Let me say it's a decision instead of agreement. And I like to make it look a little different so it's easy to see that it's different. It's not just a task. So I've made it bold. So transportation, one of the things we need from someone is a sign up for the transportation. Who would like to
What
manage that?
Wouldn't that fall under communication?
It seems like it would.
Okay, let's make it communications. Sign up to use arranged transport. And again, that's communications. The same people are going to be involved in that, but there's going to be some specifics. When does that go out? Does that go out with the actual announcement?
I think it would be a follow-up so that way it can happen in between the announcement and the final update.
Well, my vendor needs at least 2 weeks in order to arrange for the proper vehicle.
Okay, so we need the results at least 2 weeks before the 7th, so that's the 21st.
Mhm.
So what happens if we send out a follow-up email on Monday the 15th and ask for the results by Friday the 14th?
Okay, I'm going to move this up here. This is going to be on
Or Monday the 15th is when it gets sent out, and then
guys, I apologize. This entire thing is flipped around. Look at that. It works a whole lot better that way, doesn't it? That's not right either. Have I missed a whole week? Huh.
Good dates are.
And that would be the 10th,
That
11,
would be
12, 13. Yeah.
I so apologize. Let me do this real quick. Give me some grace and I'll fix it. This is the 10th. This is the 11th. Oh no, this is not the 8th. This is the
It's
9th,
the
10th. This is the
yeah.
10th. This is the 11th, 12th, and then the 13th. Okay, that makes more sense and my brain is now not boggled. I apologize. So we want this we want the results by the 14th so we can provide it. And so this needs to go out February what day to request the results?
it needs to go up by February 10th to request the results.
Okay.
And I guess under notes, we could put due February 14th.
I'm going to make a different one for results for transport sign up.
But what if people are not working on the 14th?
Well, it's just got to be due by the 14th.
Okay.
You can submit it before then.
Okay.
Okay, so sign up to use arrange transport and then the results for transport sign up.
Hey, Thea,
Yes,
I need to leave for a business meeting. So
go
Lynn
ahead.
Nelson is my assistant, so he will speak for me.
Okay,
But now I'll be back in 30.
so
Can't
I'm
we
going to
just
say this is
assign a whole bunch of
AWN
things to
Lynn.
him?
I, he said Lynn is going to speak for him. Uh, Lynn, are you here? Okay, we will come back to is this agreement something that's going to happen for Lynn or Aaron at the end. So let's go back to this. Sign up to use the arranged transport. It's going to go out on February 10th. It's going to go to the same distribution list. And do we know what we're going to use? Is this a survey? Is this a poll? Is this people are going to bring a piece of paper? How do we know how
Sign-up
that's going to
form,
happen, or is that to be
like
determined?
like a Google form, sign-up form we can send.
Okay. And then you're going to send the results of this. The results don't go to the same distribution list. Who does the results go to?
Me,
To
Sandra.
Sandra?
Mhm.
Okay. And that's going to be emailed to you?
Yes.
Okay. And that's Sandra at company.com. Sandra,
Yep.
do you have any specific information that you need them to include in that survey?
Well, if there are any disabilities involved, what kind of equipment will they be bringing? Because if it's someone who is wheelchair bound, then I will need to know that. If they have a walker or something like that, I need to have storage.
Okay.
So Sandra, I can send you the list of our HR roster by when we send an announcement on the 7th, so you can kind of get an assessment. But that's
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Y'all are getting ahead of me here. Copy this column again and the roster for disabilities. Is that what I
Yes.
heard? And
Yep.
you're going to send that on the 7th?
Yep. So we have at least the general gist of Max.
And you're going to send it to Sandra. Okay. And this one is not everybody going to do it. That's just you, Bojana, right?
Yep.
Okay. Is that correct, Sandra?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'm trying to keep this in date order by group because people very often will look, one at a time, and if you get it out of date order, it's like I didn't see that. That was further down. At the very end, I'm going to reorganize it, but as we're talking about it, it makes it a little easier if I can keep it in date order. Okay, so for communication, right now we have our initial announcement. We have the sign up to use arranged transport that's going to go out. We have the roster for disabilities that's going to be sent on the same day. And then a few days later, we're going to get all the results of that survey or that Google sign up and send that on to Sandra so she can communicate it to the vendor. And look at this. Sandra, you are going to be the one that's going to receive this. You're going to be informed on this, and
Yes.
you're going to be informed on this. Um,
Yes.
the results for the transportation sign up, I still have the right people identified as being involved. However, Boyana, on this one, no, I'm sorry, on this one right here, you're not here for proper language. You're here to
Correct.
provide do the work. So you are the RA.
Okay.
Some people call it AR. I don't care which way you do it. It doesn't matter as long as the right letters are in that box. Let's see. I think we're pretty good with communication. Transportation, we are hoping to get a bus with disability equipment. When do you think we're going to have those results? Let's see. We've got Sarita, Boyana, and Sandra that are going to be responsible for this. Who wants to take charge of this one? Who wants to lead this one?
Well, since I'll be communicating with the vendor, well, that would make me accountable, right? I will be accountable.
Well, it makes sense that you're going to be a critical player in this, and I have no problem with you also being accountable. Okay,
Okay.
um, so I'm going to address my question specifically to the person who's accountable because they're leading the team. It doesn't
Okay.
mean everybody else doesn't have a voice, but it makes it easier than to say three or four names every time you have a question about a topic. So, Sandra, for transportation to get this arranged so that we know what's going on, uh, when do you think we can have that decision made, those arrangements made?
Let's see. We said that we had to have the results of the transport by the 14th. Then they said they needed 2 weeks, so we will know by the 28th.
Okay. Can I encourage you that we would need to do it before then because on the communication, they're going to plan on sending out the communication on the 28th. And if you give it to them on the 28th, it makes it hard to get that information. We're going to have this bus in the
Okay.
location, etc. So
Yes,
can we
yes.
do it on the 24th?
That's pushing the vendor a little too much. So
Okay.
I will compromise and say the 26th.
Okay. Communication, is it good for you if we can get it arranged by the 26th?
Aaron, is that going to
Yes,
work?
that should work for me.
All
Okay.
right.
Because
Okay.
the vendor will give me a complete write-up, which I'll just forward on to you to include.
Okay, and can we do that by the beginning of the day or is it by end of day?
By end of day,
Okay,
because
very good.
yeah, because I'll
I
ask for them to get it to me in the morning, and then I'll have the day to ask questions and iron out any
very
issues.
good,
So
very good. And they're going to be they're going to be communicating that information to you directly.
correct.
So we don't really have a received by whom because you're going to be working with the vendor. I'm going to put
Right.
that here. The approved vendor. And the next steps are going to be communicate, provide info to communications. And let me make a insert here. Once you get this information, you're going to transportation provide this information to communications. And Sandra, can I make you responsible for that
Yes.
again?
Yep,
Or
I'll
do
have it.
you want to delegate that to somebody else?
No, I'll have the information, so I'll just forward it on.
Okay. And that information is going to go to our communication person is Lynn or an AW.
Aaron.
And me, Aaron.
Okay. And can we get it to them at the same time we confirmed it at the end of the day on the 26th?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't want to create an event. This is going to go to email to Aaron. I'm going to put AW just to be clear. At company.com. And Aaron or Lynn, is there any specific information you want to know about this? For instance, right now we have it leaving from and returning to the employee parking lot. Do you want to be able to say they're going to be at this specific location in the parking lot or anything like that?
Well, we need to have a meeting time. So, and we want to have it probably a little bit before the time we want to depart. So we need
Okay.
to provide, I'll need to be informed in terms of the RACI matrix, but we'll want to communicate to the people what time we want to gather.
Okay, we know that we got to leave at 9 o'clock. Can we say that we're going to load at 8:30?
That works.
Okay, another decision. Can we say we're going to load buses 30 minutes before departure for both departing the work office and coming back to the office?
That sounds good. It takes a while to herd the cats.
Yep. So that means it's going to be 8:30
To
for that
5:30.
a.m. And then copy this again. And from Cowboy Ranch. And that's going to be 4:30 p.m. Okay. So we've got two new decisions. Do we have agreement from Aaron on these two decisions?
Yes.
Okay. Sarita, do we have agreement from you on these two decisions?
Yes.
All right. Boyana?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Harini?
She said
Okay.
yes.
I see you. Sandra?
Yes.
Okay. And AW or Lynn?
Yes.
Okay. While you're here, we also had a decision on using arranged transportation is not mandatory, so people can take their own vehicles. Are you okay with that one?
Yes.
Okay. So my decisions are identified here so that it's easy to see where the decision is and who agreed to it. Again, if someone else joins the meeting, you need to ask them, do they agree to these? And if they don't, if they disagree or if they abstain, document that here. That way it's absolutely clear. Okay, so for transportation, you're going to provide the information to communications. One other responsibility perhaps for transportation is be at the location to help people load or unload. Do you want to make that the responsibility of the transport company, or do you want to actually be there to do that?
No, the transport company, since they know their equipment.
Okay. Let
And
me
if they
spell the
have
word.
this, and if they have storage underneath, then they know how to pack it so that it doesn't, fly
Okay.
around too much.
Okay. Sounds like a decision to me. Do we have any discussion that we need to make about this decision? Does anyone have any concerns or questions? Okay.
None from Aaron.
Okay, Aaron, do you agree?
I agree.
Okay, Sarita.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. Boyana?
Yes.
Harani? I see you said yes. Good. Sandra.
Yes.
Okay. And AW or Lynn?
Take a moment to play the devil's advocate. I
Okay.
agree that the company, the transportation company, are the ones responsible for, handling their equipment, loading and unloading, and assisting people with disabilities. But do we want a representative from the company to be there to welcome guests and, make sure that everyone is feeling welcome and help kind of promote the activity in the event as people are
Okay.
boarding the buses?
Okay. I heard what you said. However, the question is they are responsible for unloading and loading. It sounds like you're proposing a new thing. So do you agree with the decision that they're responsible for unloading and loading?
Yes, I'll agree with that. Yes.
Okay, you'll agree with that. And it sounds like we have a new opportunity here for a decision. I mean, for a task. Transportation, do y'all want to have people part of your group that are there to greet the guests?
Yeah, I think we can bring somebody from leadership perhaps to come out there and take part.
I think that's a great idea. Who's going to arrange leadership coming out to greet the guests?
I can call upon that and get a few folks to join us.
Okay. And when will you have that completed, my dear?
I will get their buy-in and a few folks who will be volunteering. We're hoping for some higher ups. So call them special guests by the 17th. How about that?
By the 17th. Okay. And we would like to just coordinate everything to communication so that they know they can say, if you ride bus A, John Wellington, the president of the company, will be there to greet you. Can you send that information to communications by the 17th by end of day?
And it's a 2-hour ride to the ranch. Just, there'll be drinks
They don't
and
have to go to the ranch. They can just be there to greet.
yes, absolutely.
Okay. And let's see, let me go back up here. Sandra, communication, accountable. Oh, no, that's Lynn. And so we're working with Aaron here. So let me put the right email here. It is Lynn, and Boyana, you're going to send that information. You're going to have the information by end of day to send by email to Aaron. Okay. Anything else for transportation? We know where it's going to be. We know that there's going to be who's going to be responsible for loading and unloading. We know that there's going to be leadership there to greet them for their send off. We know that there's potentially disability going to be considered, and we have communication set up. Transportation, do you have anything else that you feel like we need to consider for this? Do you think 30 minutes
No.
is enough to get 50 people on 2 buses? Are you good with that?
Mm,
Okay. Okay.
Let's,
Now, I'm sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
let's make it 45 minutes.
Okay. Does,
Yeah.
Of everyone involved, does anyone have a problem with changing these to 45 minutes? Considering we have some disabilities, that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to switch these to 45 since no one spoke up. Okay. Now, we finished with transportation. I'm going to go back up to communication. Communication, do you feel like you're getting all the information you need in the proper amount of time to be able to put it in either your initial announcement, your sign up uh, to use it range transport, or your results, I'm sorry, your final update? Those three that are going to go out. Do you have everything you need for communication, for transportation? And this is Aaron and Boyana and AW and Lynn. I need an answer.
I think we got it.
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. Okay. If you think of something before the end of the meeting, it's fine to add it. I'm just trying to cover it as we go. Okay, games. First of all, let me move this down. Who wants to be involved in identifying, arranging, bringing, how we're going to do it, games? I just need some names. We have Boyana that's going to be accountable for the disability issues, noting disability issues for games. But and Sandra wants to be informed of those things. Is there anybody else who wants to be involved in games? We need, or do we need games? Maybe we don't need games.
For children, perhaps, for the families, just something for little ones, maybe. I don't know.
Now,
Harini said she'd be responsible
All
or
right.
or
I'm
informed,
sorry.
but
Okay, right here, responsible. Okay, let's start with responsible. And that means that Boyana, you're going to send an email to Harini about any disability issues that she needs to be be
Aware of.
aware of. Okay, so
I'll send her an email very quickly. I think when yeah, on the 10th, I think I was gonna send one to vendors, so I'll send the same here.
perfect. And by the end of the day?
Mhm.
Okay, end of day. And let me make up a brand new email for Harini. That's going to be email to harini@company.com. Okay, Harini, is that good with you? That way you're informed. Okay, perfect. So now let's go back to games. Harini is right now the only person responsible for identifying games, making any arrangements. We have an unlimited budget. We can ask a vendor to bring out bounce houses, or we can have a vendor bring out board games for people that don't want to ride horses. They want to just sit. Um, it's absolutely up to you. How do you think you want to handle that, Harini? Do you have any ideas so far? I believe you're only communicating by text, so I'm going to keep talking while you type your idea. Does anyone else want to be involved in games at all? We only have one person, which is
I can,
plenty. One
I
person
can
can do the job.
I can be with Harini. I have few
Okay.
ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk to the ranch people and then we may have their ideas to, organize the games.
Okay. So let's say we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know the scope of the games. We don't know if we're going to have, a vendor come out to do stuff after you talk to the ranch people. We don't know if we're going to decide not to do anything. But what date do you think you're going to have the results? I mean, we've got some time. Do you think you're going to have the results by the 14th that you can tell us we're going to have bounce houses or we're going to have footballs or, whatever? Is the
Yeah,
14th a good date?
it could be closer to the events, but yeah, if you're saying 14, I would say at least 19th because
Okay.
we need to explore the things as per the venue also.
Okay, that's good. And I'm sorry, I didn't ask. Between Harini and Sarita, which of you wants to be accountable and responsible?
I can be accountable and responsible.
Okay, very good. Okay, and so communications, you're going to need to get information on the results of the games, of the arrangements, correct? Because you're going to want to put that
Well,
in the, hey, this is what's happening, right?
I think before that happens, they need to let me know if they want a vendor or not. Because
Oh,
if they
very
want
good.
a vendor, then I need to find a vendor, and I don't think we have an approved vendor.
Okay, so that means you need to be consulted before the decision.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there anybody else that needs to be involved in games? Um, with consulted, I'm going to identify what you're going to be consulted about.
Right.
Vendor selection. Okay. So the games and arrangements are going to go to communications. Let me check the communications. We've got the initial announcement on the 7th. We don't have enough time to do that. Is it communications? Are you good with having it just go out in your final update? Communications is going to be Lynn and AW and Aaron and Boyana.
I think the initial communication, we can just be general in that there will be games and activities. And then on the 28th, we can list what those specific games and activities it will be, which
Okay.
then gives the attendees that weekend. So like if we said we were going to have water slides for the kids, it gives them that weekend to, get bathing suits and things like that before the
Right.
actual event. So
I don't
Okay.
think we need to include that in on the 7th, because what if we decide that there's enough to do at Cowboy Ranch with the rides and whatever they offer that we actually don't offer games?
Right.
agreed,
Okay. So
agreed. Yeah, the 7th
for
communication will just say that general high level that there's going to be activities planned.
There you
And
go.
then on
I
the
like that better.
28th, is when we'll give the specifics of what those activities will be available for them to participate in.
okay, I'm gonna clarify these. Announcement is going to go high level, and then final update will have specifics. Um, the arrangements, once they're made on the 19th, will be sent to the communications accountable person. And I will put that right here as informed final results. And I need to put that right here as well. He's going to get final results there. Harini, I'm sorry, I didn't note here. What is it you want to be informed about for the disability issues for games?
She
And
said
for
she'd be
Sandra?
right back. I don't know if she's there yet.
Oh, okay. Sandra, what did you want to be informed of? You were concerned for your kids, or was it a vendor?
Well, in general, before I took responsibility for transportation, I was going to take responsibility for games, but now that I'm not responsible for games, I need to know for my vendor selection.
Okay. Okay. But is that for disability issues or just games?
I think we want to,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, for disability issues too, because I want to make sure that we have games that everybody can participate
Okay.
in.
Okay. Very good. And Boyana, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think I was just echoing the same thing she was saying. We want to make sure we're all inclusive. So, yeah.
Okay. Very good. And
What?
Hari, whenever you get back, if you're back, I'd like to note here what you wanted to be informed about, but for games and disability issues. Okay, so wrapping up games, is there anything else we need to know or plan to do for games?
So do we need to add, I'm looping back to arrangements with Ethan need to be informed of the issues? She's making the arrangements, actual arrangements, right? We're gonna get the vendor, Sandra's gonna get the vendor. I'll get a list of folks that can participate in select activities.
Mhm.
And who's picking the person making arrangements, Rita? Would you also need to be informed on row 19?
Yeah, for sure, because arrangements do need that consideration. You're right.
I'm trying to figure out, there's often cross-pollination there, and I struggle with putting too much, right? But in this instance, I don't know, what would you recommend? Person making an arrangements, that means really just picking up the vendor. So would they need to be also in, well, you're responsible.
Okay, when we're talking about the arrangements, we're talking about deciding what games or deciding if there's a vendor that's going to be responsible for transporting the games to the venue and taking care of them and managing them there, and just everything around games. So, what is it you're talking about being informed about?
On a row 19, since Sarita is managing that arrangement, would she need to also be informed on row 19?
Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Sarita and Boyana, I had you in two different places.
Oh, that's
Uh,
okay.
because Boyana, you're responsible for disabilities,
All right.
I want Sarita to be informed. Absolutely. Thank you so much. TIES to be considered. Does that work?
I think that does. Yeah.
Okay. Let me make that a little bit smaller. Okay. Does that cover everything for games?
So,
Are we good with that? Okay. Now let's talk about food. We need
Oh,
a group of
quick
people to
assertion.
go ahead,
We
Erin.
from the chat, someone mentioned feedback for the outing.
Okay. Let's work on that down here. Is this feedback after the fact?
Yes,
So this is lessons learned, right?
yes.
Okay. We will come back to that. Thank you for calling that to my attention. Okay, let's talk about food. Who would like to be involved in identifying what food and how it's going to be provided? I see a brand new hand up.
Hi,
Uh,
Thea, I have a question.
oh,
For
yes, go ahead.
for games arrangement, I can see Sarita is responsible, accountable.
Yes,
But in games disabilities issues, she's only in four. When
that's
she's
correct.
accountable and responsible for disabilities, she should be only in four, doesn't have any responsibility.
No, because she's making the arrangements for the games, but in regard to games, the disabilities and issues actually is owned by Boyana. She has the information and she's going to be providing that. She's the responsible and accountable. She's going to be providing that to Sarita.
Okay.
Does that make
that's
sense?
input.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Okay, back to food. We want to have food at the event. People, oh, I'm sorry. Is there another hand up? No more hands up. Okay. You're free to raise your hand. It actually pops up to the beginning of my list, so I want to see you. So we'd like to have food at the event. People are going to be there all day. We want to be able to have food for them. Who would like to be involved in that?
I'll be involved. Aaron.
Okay, Aaron, involved? Anybody else? Aaron can make all the decisions if y'all want her to. I
Wow.
have full confidence in Aaron.
I think AW would like to be involved with food too. So
Okay.
I would like to be consulted because
Okay.
I'm a mother of four, so I can give that perspective.
Okay. What specifically? Is it the food selection?
food selection for kids.
Chicken nuggets.
Okay,
So,
got it.
so here, again, the same list of disabilities issues I would need to provide, right?
Okay.
Whoever's going to, whichever vendor we're picking for the food.
Okay. So you need to be consulted for vendor selection.
Mhm.
No, you need to be consulted because of the allergies, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let me put you right here. And let me correct that. Allergies. Okay. So right now we have Aaron and AW that are identified as being responsible for this, with Sandra identified as food selection for kids, as consulted for food selection for kids. And additionally, Boyana is going to be consulted about specifically about allergies. So Aaron and AW, which of you would like to also be accountable?
I vote AW.
He's accountable for the communication. So maybe Aaron, you should be accountable for food. How's that?
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, that's a good diplomatic way of saying no, I can't take on more than I'm already taking on. Okay, so Aaron, do we have any idea of what kind of arrangements you're going to do? Are you going to cook it all yourself? Are you going to have a caterer come and deliver it to the venue and stand there and be sure that the trash is taken care of and that the drinks are still provided and that there is breakfast and snacks and lunch and silverware and everything?
Buffet
Do you have
style
any
catering.
ideas? Full
Buffet
style
style
cake?
buffet style catering.
Okay.
Great idea.
And can I suggest that we make the decision that the vendor is responsible for delivery, setup, monitoring, and cleaning?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, decision. Food vendor is responsible for, um, I'm spelling it out so there's no ambiguity. Delivery, setup, monitoring, trash, uh, keeping food available. So if we run out of stuff, it's not going to spell check for me. AV8, keeping food available. So if we run out of drinks, that they restock the drinks, things like that. And then cleanup. Did I miss anything?
Sounds right.
Okay. And our vendor person, Sandra, do we have vendors that can do this already?
Yes, we do, and I can pass that information on, but I would rather not be responsible for the interaction because I've already got two vendors that I'm interacting with that are
That's
quite
that's fine.
large.
You're just providing I'm sorry, right here. Consulted for vendor selection for food. But you're a vendor person. You don't have to work with the vendor, just tell us who they are, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's two things here. I'm going to do one and two. You're being consulted for two things: vendor selection and, okay. Decision, the food vendor is responsible for delivery, setup, monitoring, trash, keeping food available, and cleanup. And I'm going to put and cleanup so they know that that's the end. Do I have agreement from Aaron?
Yes.
Sarita?
Yes, please.
Okay, Boyana?
Yes.
Harini? Sandra?
Yes.
Okay, and A.W. Lynn?
Yes.
Okay. We'll come back to this whenever we come back and check at the very end. Okay, so when are we going to kind of have arrangements in place for the buffet style catering food? Aaron,
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
when are we going to have arrangements in place for the buffet style catering? When are we going to know who the vendor is, what the food selection is, things like that?
By the 17th.
Okay, on 2/17 by end of day?
Yes.
Okay. And we're going to need to send that to our communications person.
Also
Can you
me.
send that to AW as well?
Yes.
Okay, so he's not only going to be responsible, but he's going to be informed, just to be sure that he's got it in documented. In case, Aaron, you have to make decisions that he wasn't involved in, he can get that information. So he needs to be informed of vendor and food selection. Do we need to also let him know what the schedule is? You know, we're going to eat at 11 or we're going to eat lunch at noon. Does that matter?
We can have a day of the event schedule that comes out. I don't know if we need a separate communication for it.
No, just sending it to the communication person so that they can provide that schedule. Would you be making those arrangements in a way that the caterer would have a schedule that they know, set this up at this time, set this up at this time, set this up at this time?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so you're going to also send the schedule to AW. And I notice he's back from his hiatus. So he is now here to tell us. You were voluntold, AW, that you're going to be involved in doing the work for the catering, arranging the buffet style catering, and you're also going to receive the email for communication as to the vendor, the food selection, and the schedule. Is that sufficient?
Yep.
Okay,
But
do
I
you
will
agree that
warn you, if I'm the first one that makes it to the buffet, there won't be anything left for anybody else.
Okay, y'all been warned. I'm not gonna put that as a decision, but y'all been warned. Okay. Food allergies. Boyana, you are going to communicate food allergies to the people that are working on the food arrangement. So that would be Erin.
Hmm.
And so she's going to be informed of food allergies. And she needs to get that information in sufficient amount of time so she can make the arrangements for the catering, which is the 17th. So, Boyana, when can you send her that information for food allergies?
210 work? End of day 210?
Erin, is that sufficient?
That'll work.
Okay. So that's an email to erin@comp.com. Okay. And is there anybody involved in this that wants to be informed of the menu? Anybody with food allergies in their family that they want to see what's going to be there? Okay, very good. Okay, let's see. We have gone through communication, transportation, games, and food. Is there anything else we need to make arrangements for this event?
We should think for the photography.
A photographer. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Do we want to vote on that? Or well, I've got a heart. That's good. Okay. Do y'all want to arrange a photographer? We do have an unlimited budget. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Photographer. Is this a single photographer, a videographer? What are we going to do here?
Do we have a marketing in here? Did I have anybody?
Do I have anybody from marketing in this meeting? Or employee relations? I guess not. So a photographer.
Just communication.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay. We're going to arrange a photographer. Who's going to make the arrangements for that?
I guess I can since I'm vendor relations and that's not a big That's not a big ask.
Okay.
And we have somebody that we use for most of our events. I just need to make sure that they're available.
Okay. So you're going to make those arrangements. When
Mhm.
can you get those arrangements completed by?
Those don't have to be communicated or anything, in my
Probably
opinion.
not.
So by the 28th, because I'll make sure that they're available and then we can talk through the agenda and things like that from for the day so that they know where to be when.
Okay, very good. That means that you need the agenda for the day.
Yeah.
Who could you get that from? Would that be communications?
Well, I
Because they're
have,
going to get, they're
yeah,
going to, at some point, in all of this, when people are going to be in the food area, when people are going to be out riding horses, things like that.
yeah.
So,
So,
communications, we're going to make a new task for you guys. I'm sorry, I put that in the wrong place. Let me put it up in communications. As you gather everyone's schedules, let's make that final schedule. As you gather everyone's schedules, if you can compile those because you're going to use those for your final update. Uh, let's see, it looks like you're going to have that by the 26th. Can you send the schedule out to the to Sandra, who's going to be working on the photographer? Would that be sufficient? Would that be okay with you? Uh, communication, that would be
Oh,
AW
yeah. Oh, sorry.
and Aaron.
It's okay with me, Aaron.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna let this Aaron take responsibility. I'm so confused between the two of you. This Aaron is going to take responsibility for on 2/28 at end of day to send the information out to Sandra. Email, I've got it right here. And what you want, Sandra, is you want to be informed of the schedule.
all vendors.
Schedule for all vendors. Is
Yep.
that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else want to also receive this final schedule? I mean, it's going to go out in the final update to everyone, but does anyone else need it before the final update?
Well, I thought we talked about the schedule being a day of handout. It doesn't have to go in the final update because there's information that won't be known by the final update.
Which information wouldn't be known by the final update?
Um,
We talked about the announcement wouldn't have the details, but the final update should have details.
oh, that's true. Okay. Yep.
Okay. One reason that we need this final schedule before that date is so that the photographer can plan his route through the
Right.
place.
Right. So you're
Okay,
gonna have to
so
change, the date of the final update then because you have it at 10 a.m. that morning. And you're saying the final schedule is end of day that day.
you're right. So can we send the final schedule out at the same time?
I think so. This is Aaron.
Okay. Perfect. Aaron, you're the one I needed to hear that from. So perfect. Okay.
Woohoo.
So we have the photographer. The arrangements are going to be taken care of by Sandra. We don't have to report that to anybody. So you're just going to work with the vendor. That's not going to be received by anybody. Nobody's going to get an update on that. But as our vendor relations person, Sandra, you're going to have the contracts and stuff, and that's not
Yeah.
something you need to communicate out necessarily. Is there anything else we need to talk about for this event other than the lessons learned afterwards?
One minute moment. note from the chat is that someone mentioned a backup date for inclement weather.
And also, man, that came from Kamel. And then Man Canada said feedback of the outing.
I've
So
got
we're
feedback
doing,
of the outing right here.
oh, we got it? Okay.
If we have a backup date, we will have all of these arrangements in place, and we're going to have to work with vendor relations for all the contracts. So let's not schedule a backup date yet. We're going to just plan. We have beautiful weather scheduled. We have no reason to have a backup date because that is like a whole nother meeting to have to reschedule all of this stuff.
It's going to be in
I'll-
Colorado in July, so the weather is fine.
The weather
No,
is
it's in
fine.
March.
Thank you.
It's in
Thank
March.
you. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It'll be
hashtag
fine.
California then.
The weather where we're going to be is going to be fine. We're not going to have any wildfires. We're not going to have any bad weather.
There you go.
No sickness. It's going to be awesome.
We're still going
Okay.
if it rains.
Well,
Yes.
we still have some indoor games, I'm sure we're going to schedule. Okay, so we've talked about communication, transportation, games, and food. Is there anything else we need to make arrangements for this event? Okay, I'm going to propose something. We have 50 people. Some of us are coworkers and some of us are our families, our spouses and children. We're all going to be together outside of the work environment. I don't know about you, but I've noticed that people act a little more rambunctious whenever they get outside of the work environment. Sometimes they may drink alcohol. We haven't talked about are we going to allow alcohol? They may show off. They may play football that they haven't played in 20 years and, injure themselves. There may be issues. People around wildlife like horses, sometimes they fall off. I would like to propose that we have a ambulance on standby in the Circle Drive. If somebody has a cut, if somebody has something else, because Boyana had to step away, so I'm going to take over the HR. In case of the issue of an injury or a illness, we have an ambulance on standby. That way, our company's liability is protected. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes,
Okay.
from Aaron.
Okay, ambulance on standby, which means they have a staff. And who can arrange that for us?
Vendor relations.
Well, vendor relations is really, really occupied right now. I mean, Sandra is taking on a whole lot of stuff. Is there somebody else that can do it?
She needs an assistant.
Are you volunteering, Aaron? AW.
Yes, Aaron volunteered.
Wait,
Okay. So you're going to arrange an ambulance and staff to be on standby in the Circle Drive in Circle Drive. Let me put that here.
I'll do that because I got a son that's a paramedic. I'm sure he'd be glad to go to Colorado to a dude ranch and
Okay, well we need
But is he a cleared vendor for our company?
yeah, he is.
Okay.
I'll get him on
We
the
need a
list.
staff of 3. And Aaron, I'm sorry, AW, when can you get that arranged so that we can know that it's done?
When do we need it?
Well, we need it before the 7th. Today is the
For
6th.
that, we want to know at least a week ahead.
Okay.
2 weeks
How
ahead
about
would be even better. So let's say it's going to be done by the 21st.
Okay. So 2/21 by end of day.
Yep.
And Sandra, you're going to need to be informed about this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Aaron, can you send Sandra an email that gives her the information she needs?
I
$5.
can.
I'll
Okay.
send it to her for $5.
Sorry, that's not allowed. Waivers, Carrie, waivers are already discussed. Thank you for bringing that up. They are in our They were in our out of scope. The list of 50 people, list is confirmed that those people all have waivers on file. Okay, so we have an ambulance. Is there anything else that we need? Okay,
Do we cover
so
waivers from the chat?
yeah, we have waivers
Okay.
in our 50 people list confirmed. So feedback after the outing, is that something that people in this room should be responsible for? Is that employee relations or is that somebody else?
HR.
I'm sorry, say that again, Erin.
HR.
HR. So
So
we've got
Boyana.
Boyana. Okay, I'm going to, since she said somebody take over for her, I'm going to be Boyana. She's going to be accountable and responsible. I'm going to pay the RA, so it's raw, for this, and we're going to schedule this a week after the event, which would be the 14th. So that's 3/14. To the distribution list that we used earlier, right here. That will send it out to everybody. And results to be published to employee newsletter. OYE. I'm not going to employees do this newsletter for that's the end of the first quarter, right? First quarter. There we go. Okay. Is there anything we've missed? You guys are my movers and shakers. I rely on you to think about, is there anything we've missed in this? We've made several decisions. I congratulate you on your decisions. Okay, we're going to start the phase that we talk about the meeting wrap up. So I'm going to walk through this and say, for communication, here's our communication section. Aaron, I'm sorry, AW and Lynn, y'all are responsible and accountable for a majority of this, for sending out the announcement at a high level on February 7th to the distribution list. You're going to set up and use the survey to set up and use the arranged transportation, creating a Google sign-up form by February 10th. How are you going to let people know about that? That they need to go out and answer that? Do they receive an automatic notification? I don't know.
Initial communication that went out on the 7th.
Okay, so
Sorry.
this is going to note that it's going to happen.
Yes.
The Google sign up form on February 11th. I'm sorry, on the 10th. Okay, make a note there. Okay, the next thing is you're going to receive the roster of disabilities from Boyana on the 10th as well, and you're going to have the results for the transport sign up on the 14th and send that to Sandra. And then you're going to have create the final schedule and the final update to the distribution list on the 28th, which is 1 week before the event. Do you have any concerns with getting those things accomplished? Aaron, AW, y'all good with that?
I'm good with that.
Yep.
Okay, very good. And Boyana is involved in quite a bit of that, but as I'm taking up for her, I'm going to step in there. Sandra, you've got to be informed on some of these things. The roster for disabilities, you're going to be receiving this.
Yeah, that's for transport and for the games vendor selection.
Okay. Okay, got it right there. Okay, that finishes up communications, I believe. Next is transport. We've got these things for transport. Let's see, Sandra, you are responsible, accountable, with Boyana and Sarita involved, being responsible as well. For bus with disability equipment, you're going to get that arranged with the vendor by the 26th and provide the information to communications. right here.
Mhm.
You're going to be providing that.
Mhm.
I don't have the communications. Let's see. That's Aaron, right? And let me put
Me,
Aaron.
me again.
And you're going to get the final results of that, Aaron. I'm sorry, AW. This accountable, responsible. It goes to the A. We made some decisions. Using arranged transportation is not mandatory, and that's why we have the sign up list. We're going to load buses from the office 45 minutes before departure, which is going to be 8:15. I made that edit and I didn't do it in both places. And we're going to load buses from Cowboy Ranch 45 minutes before departure at 4:15. And transportation, unloading, and loading is going to be the transportation's company responsibility. And we're going to have a leadership person arranged to greet the guest in the morning upon loading from the office. And that information is also going to go to our communications person so that they can say, if you are joining bus A, and who's going to be on bus A and who's going to be greeting for bus B, etc. Any questions for transportation? Any concerns with being able to accomplish those?
No.
Okay. Now for games, we've got Sarita is going to make the arrangements for the games and then inform our vendor selection to Sandra. And then the disabilities, Boyana is going to provide that information to Sarita prior to on the 10th so she can have everything by the 19th. That's a good spread. Sarita, are you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then food, we've got arrangements for buffet style catering. We made the decision that the caterer is responsible for basically taking care of it. We don't have to babysit them. Hari, are you back by chance? If you are, we want to know if you agree with this. If not, let us know you don't agree, and we'll make that note. We also have some food allergy concern. Okay, Boyana, you're back. Wonderful.
Agree.
Food allergy concerned. Boyana is going to provide information to Aaron about food allergies on the 10th by email to your email address. We're going to have a photographer organized to attend, and Sandra is going to do that. And we have an ambulance on staff with a staff of 3, ambulance on standby with a staff of 3 in the Circle Drive. And AW is going to make those arrangements and provide that information to Sandra to her email by the 21st at end of day. Also, Boyana, you weren't here, but I volunteered for you. We want to get feedback from the event. So we're going to email the distribution list on the 14th, which is a week after the event, to get people's feedback and publish that in the employee newsletter for the first quarter.
That's great. Great.
All right, now let's go down this way. Aaron, you're responsible for a lot in communication with being accountable also for the final schedule being sent to Sandra.
Okay.
And you are responsible for the food arrangements and you'll be notified of food allergies. Can you handle that?
Hope everyone likes Tex-Mex.
Nobody gave us limitations. Sarita, you are going to be responsible for the bus with the disability equipment, and you're going to be accountable and responsible for games.
Yes.
Can you handle that?
Yes, yes.
All right. Boyana, you are going to be consulted on a lot of stuff in communication for proper language. You're responsible for the bus with disability equipment. You're responsible and accountable for the transportation to arrange the leader to come and do the greeting. And you're responsible and accountable for the games to provide the disability issue information to Hari, and responsible accountable for the lessons learned going out to the employees. Consulted about allergies. You good with that?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Perfect.
All right, very good. Hari? I hope you're back. Let's see. We have you responsible for helping with the games and being informed for the disabilities and issues for the games. Are you good with that? Okay. Because Hari has stepped away, I don't have 100% confidence in this one. So I'm going to turn this a different color to say this is something I need to follow up on after the meeting. Maybe they had to go to the restroom, whatever. I want to be sure that they are aware of what they agreed to. Okay, Sandra. Let's see. With communication, you're going to be informed for the communication for the disabilities, schedule for all vendors. For transportation, you're responsible and accountable for the bus and providing the information to communications. For games, you're going to be consulted on the vendor selection and you're going to be informed on the vendor selection as well. And for food, you're going to be consulted for the food selection for kids and the vendor selection as well. And you're going to be responsible and accountable for making the arrangements for the photographer, and you're going to be informed for vendor selection for the ambulance. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. And the last one, AW Lynn, you're responsible and accountable for communications. Quite a number of tasks there. You're going to be informed on final results of transportation for your communication. You're going to be informed on final results of the leadership who's going to be greeting the guests as they load from the office and from the game arrangements. You're going to be responsible and informed for the food, the vendor, food selection, and the schedule. And you're responsible and accountable for getting the ambulance set up. Are you good with that?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, we have completed this process, ladies and gentlemen. I will be publishing this to all impacted parties, which means everyone in this meeting and everyone else who's going to be impacted by this event. And it's going to be at this address, and I'll give you the link to the information. Your responsibility is as you make changes or updates to this, you're going to come into this column right here, column D. For instance, the high level, you're going to come in here and do this thing. You're going to put resolution and put published the announcement at high level and give us the link so that we can actually follow it. And so you're going to do that in each one of these that the person who is accountable has to do it. If they delegate it, that's fine. It just has to be done. But they are the point person to get that done. So the results of this is as people look at this and they go, so what was done about this? Here's the answer. We don't have any, was this done? What stage is it in? You can see the date it's supposed to be done by. You can see how it's supposed to go out, but there's going to be a link to it somewhere. So you can see the resolution here. You can see each one as they get closed down that they are completed. And there is no, well, somebody's got to follow up. No, you don't. The person who's accountable is responsible for making this update in the resolution column. Do you have any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Do you see how this creates accountability? There is no ambiguity. You know exactly when, where, why, how, everything. And you have the information here in this living document. So this is an all-encompassing thing of the entire project that we've just been planning. As we have changes to it, as you make updates, as you get resolutions, you can create a link to that document. If it's a vendor selection, if it's an announcement, if it's an email that you save out on SharePoint so people can see it, or the employee newsletter. Whatever it is, you can put the resolution there and the link to that particular thing so everyone has the same information immediately whenever it's updated. That encourages you to be able to say, I got all my work done. And you can see I got all my work done. Hari, this list here that I don't have resolution for, I will get do you agree to these things? Do you remember you said you were going to do these? And then I will turn it not yellow anymore. Yellow is my color to something needs to be, you need to pay attention to it. So I won't leave it this way after I talk to him, and you'll know that that means that I've talked to him. Okay, so back to, let me move this aside. We did the meeting beginning. We talked about sending out, we're going to send it out by email. We had this meeting. Here is the link to the document for everyone to see. And that's our post. Now, I told you how we're going to follow up and update it. I would encourage you as the meeting leader, even though you created accountability, sometimes somebody may be getting close to their due date and they haven't made an update. Maybe they forgot to make the update because this is a little new to them, or it may be that they need help. I encourage you to just reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, I noticed that this hasn't been updated, and I really want everyone to see that you got this done because you committed to it. Is there anything I need to do to help you, or do you something else? Aaron, how are we on time? Are we at time?
Yes, we are.
We are. Well, then that's all we're going to do today. Does anyone have any last questions?
Thank you for
Okay,
this, Thea. This has been
you're
really
very
awesome.
welcome. Let me just flip through this really quickly. I want to give you just this last piece. There are some other variations on the RACI matrix. People call it different things because they've added different things to it. Similar to what I did. They said, hey, I want to know who's going to support it. I want to know who's going to verify it. I want to know who's going to be the signatory. If you need that for your organization, for your project, you can make those changes. You have the authority to do it. But you have to have a practice and you have to be consistent because if you keep making changes, people kind of go, I don't know what she's doing. You have to be consistent. So introduce it with authority, present it, explain it, get people used to using it, and be consistent. If you find out in 3 months of using it or 2 years of using it, whatever, that it's not working quite right and you need to make it better, make it better. But you're going to have to go through a marketing program of getting some influencers on board with the idea of making the change. Because if you just randomly make the change without getting people with used to the idea ahead of time, influencers specifically, you're not going to get as much backing and you're going to lose some steam. So you could use anything that's out there. This is the format that I like to use because I've proven to myself that having the task and decision, getting the date and time, getting the received by whom and via the method, and then notes, next successor, and resolution in it is critical to success because it removes all the ambiguity. Okay, I will provide this to Aaron so that he can provide it to anyone who wants it. If you have any questions for me specifically, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. Let me flip through and go all the way to the very end. And here is my LinkedIn email address so that you can talk to me on LinkedIn. It's been wonderful, guys. I hope that you got good stuff out of this, and I'd really like to hear your feedback. Whether it's feedback on the presentation or if it's feedback on how it's been useful for you, what we can make it better with. Okay? I'll turn it back over to you, Aaron.
And I did share Thea's LinkedIn much earlier in this, so it's in the chat in that as well as Bluegrass chapter in my own. Thank you everyone for being here. Really appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed it and that you will use this enhanced RACI matrix. See if it works for you.
Hey,
So,
not everything is going to work for everyone, but I bet you this will work.
so enjoy. I also noted in the chat our April Lunch and Learn will be on decision trees with Yulia Korosenko. So join us again in April. So we're getting a lot of congratulatory, awesome sessions. Thanks again for everybody for being here. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to Thea on LinkedIn. She'll answer them for you.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Thank you, everybody. I wasn't able to stay for the whole session because I had a class. Are we gonna get a link to the actual file, like a
Yes.
copy?
Yes, you
Okay,
will receive a follow-up email tomorrow. It'll have the CDU information, as well as a link to the recording, to the slides, and I believe to the Excel RACI matrix that we put together today.
okay, thank you
Right.
very much.
All right. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. This is really helpful. Thank you.
I'm glad it was, Sandra.